Jahje Ives. I am so excited to have you here in the virtual summit because I feel like you represent the artists community in such a unique way. And so I'm really passionate about the topic about people expressing their creativity, and you have a really unique perspective on it and a very adventurous perspective at that. So welcome to the virtual summit. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And
And
yes, I'd love for you to tell people a little bit about who you are and what makes you so magical.
well, thank you. I think one of the things that has always made me magical is the ability to take things from in my head and bring them out into the world. But one of the things that has definitely been a challenge in that, which is why I've loved connecting with you, Patty, is as an artist, um, you don't really get a business school education. But I have always been one of those artists who did have a business mind. And so, I'm a lifelong artist. I'm a designer with a mind for business. And I have a knack for being able to look out into the world and see what I want to see that isn't there yet. So, all of the products that I've created over the years have been things where I looked at the market and I thought, why didn't someone make this? Oh, wait, because I'm going to make it.
I love it.
Yeah. So,
Okay, so share a little bit more about that because I know you have something to share, but I want to really capture the sentiment of who you help with your beautiful products, right? And why, in your opinion, it matters.
in my own brand, which is Baby Jives Co, that I've built over the past 12 years, I create products for really for babies and for families. And they are artful products. I, years ago, I was pregnant with my first, and this was 13 years ago. Oh my goodness. And I was looking around at the baby sphere, and it was full of plastic stuff and stuffed animals and cartoony things, which was so not me. It wasn't the market that you see now. And I made a mobile for my son, and it turned into something that was a sculpture. And when people would come to our house, they would be like, "You have an adorable baby, but where did you get that mobile?" And that's how it all began, because I had identified an absence in the market. So fast forward to now is I am actually transitioning in my career. But what I've been doing is I've also been helping over the years friends and other artists, help them identify what the absence is in their market, because we all have this spark of magic within us, but sometimes we get lost in what's out there and we start making things that we think people want, but what they really want is that little vision that's in us that hasn't come to market yet. So I help other women identify that and bring out their own magic.
Beautiful. Do you want to share a little bit about your journey in terms of your artistry and the exposure that you've gotten, all those kind of accolades that you've had? Because I think it's so impressive. So
Thank you. Yeah, well, actually, I have a little, if I can share my screen, I have a little visual journey. Here we go, of where I've been. If you were wondering how to spell my name, there it is. I'm Jahje Ives. And, actually, I'm going to move this. Here we go. And this is my journey in a few pictures. That mobile that you see me standing under is one of the first things that I became really well known for. It is a star cloud that just dangles in midair like magic. And it has graced the rooms of hundreds, if not actually thousands of, families at this point. And it all started because I had a baby, but this mobile became one of the things that brought me into Crate and Barrel. And I started my company as a mother with a 1-year-old sewing during nap time in my studio, and that was not going to get me into Crate and Barrel because my first order from them was for 200 units. That would have taken me about 4 months. And so, it has been a journey. And now I work with independent seamstresses and outside manufacturers to produce my products while I have stepped into the role of creative CEO. I design them, I work my magic, and then I bring in big-hearted manufacturers who make my products with the same attention to detail and care that I would have. And and it's not just the products, but it's every step of it. And so this is what my website looks like today. Well, actually, this is from a little bit ago. It doesn't look like this today. It's got different banners on it because you got to freshen up your websites, my friends. But it's about the journey, and from everything from making the products to presenting the vision to the customers. When you're a artist and you're running a creative business, every part of that, especially nowadays, we sell things online. Most people don't see your products in person until they arrive in the mail. And so you really have to help them envision what that's going to be like.
I love it. And out of curiosity, what do you think, as you moving from an artist to a creative CEO, do you think that's like the number one struggle for aspiring artists that want to bring their products to life, something to help them get off the ground? Is that a struggle?
I do. I think, letting go of the idea that we have to do it all ourselves, especially as women. We're taught that if we want to run a business, that's great, but we've got to do it while we're, doing all the other things that we do, which for a lot of us includes raising a family or taking care of a house or, what have you. It's like, I recently read that Gloria Steinem said if, she had known what women's rights would end up putting us in charge of getting a job and holding down the house, that she might not have fought as hard. It's like, and it's true. And, I think a lot of women try to build these companies and they don't ask for help. And being a creative CEO is that transition from I'm going to do it all myself, get out of my studio. Every little piece has to be made by me, packed by me, shipped by me, to I am the creative genius in my business. And I bring in people to support me, and people who make my products now, people who ship my products now, people who do all the things that are, not the best use of my time. Mm-hmm. And so that's what really allows an artist to grow from an army of one. You can do that, but you can only reach a certain level, really. Like, let's be honest. Mm-hmm. One person can only do so much, but when you invite in a team, it's unbelievable what you can get done.
Love it. I love it. And this is a common obstacle for, if you're an artist, if you're just an entrepreneur. I'm not an artist. Well, I'm an artist in my own right? Like, everyone has their level of artistry and creativity, but you're so right. This is something that we struggle with, is like, we're trying to like white knuckle our way to success and thinking like, I have to do it all. That was a massive lesson for me early on. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, that I just had to learn. That was a lesson. So thank you for that, because I couldn't agree more. Okay, so let's transition over to, I have my pen and paper. I'm ready to learn from you and your genius. Jahje, what is your, or one of the 3 tips for the damn wish somebody would have told me that? What's one of your tips?
All right. Well, I've kind of alluded to it, but my tip number 1 for standing out in a market is, when you try to make a little bit of everything, you don't stand for anything. And what I mean by that is, to stand out in, any market, really, you have to be known for what you do. You have to define who you are. And I see so many artists who come in and they have beautiful work, but they're looking at the marketplace and they're like doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And suddenly, and they're wondering why they feel so spread thin and frazzled because they can't do it all. And I'll tell you, when I was first starting out with my company, I was making mobiles were the first thing I got started with. And every mobile I made was one of a kind. And every one of a kind mobile, in order to be sold online, needs to be photographed. And every photograph needs to be taken every time you make the mobile. Do you know how much time it takes to take good product photographs? To like, that lasted for that. I'm not going to tell you how long it lasted, for too long. Until I realized, wait, if I make one design in, a few colorways and take photographs of that and sell it over and over again, no customer is ever going to match up the photo and go, oh, this cloud star is a little smaller than that one. I don't want it, because we're trained to accept a little bit of inconsistencies.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to dig into what your magical moments are in what you're making. So usually I have people, artists that I've worked with to help them clarify their business and bring it to the next level. I look at their sites and they are trying everything. They've got a few paintings here. They've got some books over here. They've got some baby blankets here. They're trying a knitted scarf here. They've got some dog bandanas. It's like, you're going to exhaust yourself. You're never going to get anywhere. You have to figure out, and it's pretty easy, honestly, because the things that are different and are the things that are going to stand out. And when you pour your focus into those items, then you're going to stand out. It's like, it's a no-brainer, is when you start focusing your time and energy on creating those knockout products that someone stops and goes, I've never seen that before. Like for me, it was actually that star cloud mobile, nobody had ever seen that before. And when I made that is the mobile that brought me into Crate and Barrel, because it was so different. It stood out in the marketplace. And, when I created it, which I think that was like in my second year of business, so 10 years ago, because now you've probably seen it, whether it was mine or, we'll just talk about, the ones that aren't mine, which is what happens. And that's the other thing. It's like, don't let that hold you back. I've heard other artists who are like, well, if I put my ideas out there, people will steal them. You know what? If you don't put your ideas out there, somebody out in the universe is going to get your idea and it's going to go out there anyway. And then you're going to say, oh, that's my idea. How dare they? Well, they did not visit your studio and take secret shots while you were sleeping. That's just the way it works. Yes. But if you put your unique products out there and become known for them, guess what? If somebody goes out there and copies your stuff, which has happened to me, your customers come to you and they say, did you know so-and-so? And then you can say, thank you for telling me. And you can either, there's plenty of ways to do that. That's a whole other discussion.
It's so true. And it's like, if you don't, it's so true. And it's in that book. God, what is it called? That book where she talks about how she had this idea for this book and she didn't.
Oh, Big Magic.
Big Magic.
Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic.
Thank you.
She and this really famous writer had the same exact book, basically, like almost completely.
I got chills.
Yeah, me too. I'm like filled with chills. And it happens, even in art history, like we talk about that all the time as artists. It's like so much has been done that it's really challenging to find anything original. And even the original things have probably been done at one time or another. But your energy that you're bringing to what you're doing is the difference.
Exactly. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. So true. Okay, so what about tip number 2 of damn, I wish somebody would have told me that.
All right. Tip number 2 is something it took me a little bit to get into or to learn from, but it is you cannot grow alone. You cannot grow alone. An artist who works as an artist of one will burn themselves out. You will be exhausted because as you experience any level of success, you are going to need people to support you. And for me, it came when I was getting so many orders for that Star Cloud mobile that I could not keep up. I was a new mom to I think at the time my daughter was 8 months old and my son was 3.5. I was working between nap times, at bedtime. I was just so exhausted. And I will tell you, I was having panic attacks because I had orders, because I would let people order it and I would say it's made to order. It's going to take you 3 to 4 weeks. I would let people order it and I was starting to have panic attacks because I thought, what if I die in the middle of the night? This is real. What if I die in the middle of the night and my husband has to figure out how to refund all that money to the people who have already
Oh my gosh.
like your brain, it's a gem, friends. But those panic attacks help me see like, okay, I have a good problem, but I have a problem.
Mhm.
And so I, at that point, realized I needed some help. And the biggest hurdle I had to get over was that other people making what I had designed could look like I made it. Because I'm a classically trained, overeducated artist. I've got a degree in crafts, and I've got an MFA in painting and sculpture. And what has been drilled into my head is the hand of the artist, the hand of the artist. You know what, folks? People look at a photo and they look at the product and they can't tell that you made it or the person who you hired to make it did. Because if you make a good pattern, if you communicate well, nobody can tell the difference. And so I sat on my couch and I found a production partner. And I had to, well, it wasn't that easy. I wasn't like, oh, great, production partner right there. It takes a little searching, but it was that first step towards, I need this in my life. And then I interviewed production partners. I went through I learned some very wonderful lessons, which now I help my clients with. Like, here's what, when you're finding a production partner, here's the questionnaire, here's the things to look at, here's the things to avoid, here's the mistakes I made. Let me save you $10,000 because it
Yes.
was really painful when I lost it.
Yep.
And, but ultimately, if you want to grow, if you want to reach more people, if you want to be at Crate and Barrel, when they knocked on my door, if I had still been making every mobile myself, it would have been like, okay, well, I'll have your order to you for 200 mobiles in about a year. Is that good? No, they want like 30-day turnaround.
Right, right. So it's so important. It's just really recognizing that you cannot grow alone. And I actually love the book by Dan Sullivan, Who Not How. So we're like,
Oh,
how
yes.
am I going to get this done? How am I going to get this
Mhm.
done? I thought that book was so brilliant because he talks about the fact that anytime that your business is in a bottleneck, it's time
Mhm.
for you to ask yourself the question, who can help me with this?
That book, if I had read that when I was I don't know if it was out when I was a young mother, but
No,
man,
it's
that book
not
could have
that.
saved me so many tears.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's been pivotal. And
Mhm.
it's something that in our community we talk about. I'm like, it sounds like it's time for a who. And people are more receptive to it. They're like, oh,
Mhm.
you know what, you're right. And so that's what's so important is recognizing that you can't do it alone. And the way that you said, you can't grow alone. You can't
Mm-mm.
grow alone. So there's a big,
Yeah.
there's a distinction there.
Well,
Okay.
and I will offer, hold on, that
Yeah.
it's not just you can't grow alone. It's not just that you need production partners, it's that you also need people on the other end of it in your life supporting you.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another big thing is I had to start asking for more help from the people around me
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I was still trying to be the perfect mom and, doing every single thing, volunteering for the PTA and all the things. And I had to give some of that up,
I,
but I couldn't grow if I didn't.
right, right. Very, very, very well said. All right. What about tip number 3 of wish somebody, damn, I wish somebody would have told me that.
Okay. Tip number 3 is something that I have been navigating for the past couple years. It's okay to quit.
Mhm.
Currently, I am actually in the position of transitioning my company, Baby Jives Co, that I've built over the past 12 years, into a company that is actually going to be more focused on the women in the lives of those children, and also focused in, I'm an artist, I make artwork, and who I am and what I want to make has changed, and I don't really want to make products for babies anymore myself. I'm actually still doing licensing for other brands, and that's a whole other conversation. There's so many ways to make a living as an artist that I think sometimes when we have something that's working,
Mhm.
like a company that we've spent 12 years building, I don't know, so you might say, that we're not willing to give it up until it basically starts kicking us out the door. And what I mean by that is if your energy and your passion isn't in something, it's going to start pulling away from you. And, you can't make something work once your passion for it is gone. And I think oftentimes in our society, we say so much like winners never quit. No, winners quit all the time.
Yeah.
That's such bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like, how many winners don't, but maybe we reframe it to like, winners know when it's time to move and pivot. Winners quit with intention.
Mhm.
They let go. And so, if you're in a space where you're like, this isn't working anymore, but you're being drawn to another thing, don't be afraid to let go. Like, don't be afraid to reinvent yourself, because here's the secret. Like, I built a really successful company that's done so much. And yes, it was 12 years of my life, but now I have a reputation as an artist, as a creator. Do I think I'm going to be starting from square one? No.
Right.
And like everything that we learn from goes with us. Like every lesson that I've learned goes with me. And one of the most powerful things you can do is recognize, like, I have learned so much from this. And it's time to use that to fertilize the next chapter.
Exactly. Exactly. It's been so, I've been there too, where certainly not 12 years, but it was like a 2-year experiment kind of fell into my lap, and I was like, okay, I wasn't in love with it. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
love it anymore. I had lost the spark, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's like it's time to put that to rest, to turn the page to a new chapter. And I think that's so important to recognize. It's like you gave it I don't know, you gave it your all is what I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point you have to collect yourself and be like, wow, is this a hell yeah or a hell no? Right now,
Mm-hmm.
it's a hell no. So for me, as simple as that sounds, that's the way I do it. And I
Yeah.
find that and also like checking in on the values front. Is this inspiring me? Is it
Mm-hmm.
heavy? I mean, there's so many ways that you can look at this.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, that is it heavy is a really big one for me, because if it feels like a burden, it probably is.
yes, yes.
So, your business should not be a burden. It should be your passion. It should be, for me, I have 2 born children. My business was the 3rd child that I loved fiercely.
Mm.
And when it turns into the 3rd child who you're like, maybe it's time for you to go to college.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time for you to, maybe it's time for a little space.
Yes, I love it. All right, so let me just do a really quick recap. And I hear the ambulance in the background. Ignore that, everyone. Number 1 is doing a little bit of everything means you stand for nothing.
Mhm.
Number two is you cannot grow alone. And the important distinction, both professionally and personally, I thought that was a really important to add there at the end. And number three, it's okay to quit, right? Because winners quit with intention.
Mhm.
I love that. So thank you for those three. Damn, wish somebody would have told me that, because that helps to really put into perspective the importance of being resourceful, asking yourself better questions. This is all part of that trajectory of being an entrepreneur. And I think these are really, really invaluable. So with that, Jahje, thank you. And let us know how people can connect with you.
Absolutely. Well, right now, as I said, I'm in the midst of transition, but on Instagram, which is that's my main social platform that I'm on right now, you can find me at Jahje Ives, which Patty will spell it out for you below, and
Yes.
at Baby Jives, which again, and my company that is until the end of the year, it's there, babyjives.com. Products for families that are beautiful, artful. And I also have a freebie, like a little treat for you who are artists or creatives who are looking for a way to really like zone in on your magic. I have a 6-page, well, give or take.
Mhm.
It's not that long. It doesn't take that long. A eBook that is finding your big idea. And again, Patty will put the link for that. And it's just a way to look at and figure out what's your magic, what's your difference, how do you stand out from the crowd? Because, like I said to Patty, when you follow the formula, you're part of the noise.
I love that. I love that quote when you said, I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, that's such a quotable. I want everybody to hear this, because if you know of my brand, part of it is like you want to zag when everybody else is zigging. And this is
Mhm.
in essence what Jahje is talking about. And so this ebook that she is sharing, you'll find the link right below this video. Grab it, because this will get your wheels turning. I really, really want to emphasize the importance of this, because the first tip that you give, doing a little bit of everything means you stand for nothing, is another example of like you're just commoditizing yourself. You're
Mhm.
creating more noise in the marketplace, as opposed to standing in your ground and saying, this is what I stand for, right? And
Exactly.
that's how you'll find the big idea. But the big idea is never watered down. Otherwise it would be
Mhm.
a bunch of ideas, right? So this is a great ebook. Again, I love it. I'm gonna grab your ebook. So that's that's gonna be right below. Grab it. This is a big deal. It's a big deal to get a good handle on this. So thank you, Jahje, for that. That's
You're
great.
welcome. Yeah, I'm glad. And, that's how we stand out in the noise,
Yes,
is we use our own magic because we all have it.
indeed. Indeed. Well, thank you, Jahje, for your time. I really appreciate it, and celebrating what it means to be a creative CEO. You're such a great representation of that. And I personally am looking forward to your next chapter, and see what you develop. So that'll be really exciting.
I'll be sharing it soon. So thanks, Patty.
Thank you.